American businesses and families have a tremendous amount to gain from our connections to the global economy and from U.S. global economic leadership. We need to promote policies, investments, and institutions that support global growth, protect financial stability, and avoid economic instability. This includes tackling challenges like climate change, pandemics, and conflict and fragility that threaten to hold back global growth and that will be high on the agenda at next week's meetings. Calls for walling America off with high tariffs on friends and competitors alike, or by treating even our closest allies as transactional partners, are deeply misguided. Sweeping, untargeted tariffs would raise prices for American families and make our businesses less competitive. And we cannot even hope to advance our economic and security interests, such as opposing Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine, if we go it alone. But the issues we face today, from broken supply chains to climate change and
Good morning and welcome to another exciting time. Let's talk about business. It's Business 360 and my name is Blacklisted. And that was Yellen talking about having the call for high tariffs and saying they are deeply misguided. She called for whaling America off with high tariff on friends and competitors alike and by treating even the closest allies as transactional partners, and she said it was deeply misguided, the U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. Well, further conversation continues looking at the world of business. Berkshire Hathaway cut its Apple stake by 55% in the first half of 2024, potentially missing out on $23 billion in profit, even as the iPhone maker's stock traded at or near record highs. If Berkshire had not trimmed its position in Apple, a stake would be $210 billion at current prices. Apple shares have jumped 10% since the second quarter, driven by optimism about Apple Intelligence. The option of sending rejected African asylum applicants to their home continent is now being considered by the Dutch government. The plan to do this involves Uganda specifically. The European Commission will propose measures to reinforce the EU's position on migration in response to pressure from government throughout the Union. The UK previously proposed a plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, which faced pushback and was eventually scrapped. In Africa, the degree of economic recovery in 2024 has differed greatly across Africa and even among the continent's sub-regions. However, East Africa remains the most notable sub-region with the highest rate of economic growth, and within East Africa, Kenya stands out owing its robust currency and impressive sectoral accomplishments. East African community outperformed other African sub-regions with a growth rate of 4.7% in 2024. Kenya's economy alone is projected to rise to 5% in 2024 and 5.1% in 2025 to 2026. Growth is expected to spike in approximately 60% of sub-Saharan African nations by 2024, according to a report by the World Bank. In Nigeria, Shell's proposal to sell off its stake in Nigeria's onshore and shallow water operations has suffered a setback. According to Nigeria's oil regulator, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission (NUPRC), the deal was put on hold as the proposed new owners lacked the qualification to manage the assets. Meanwhile, Shell announced its exit from the Nigerian onshore oil market in January 2024. Still in Nigeria, Aliko Dangote, whose net worth has fluctuated since the year began, is back to being Africa's richest man. His net worth in the past few days has gone from around $13 billion to now $27.8 billion. This is following months of back and forth between he and South Africa's Johan Rupert for the title of Africa's richest man. And the man said, "I didn't know what we were building was a monster," the Nigerian billionaire stated during a recent visit to New York. According to Bloomberg's real-time billionaire index, Dangote is now worth $27.8 billion, making him the world's 65th richest person, a far cry from the 175th position he occupied with a net worth of $13.2 billion a few weeks back. Bloomberg, in its latest Top 500 Billionaires Index released, revealed that Dangote had his wealth increased significantly after the commencement of operation of its newly built petrochemical refinery, said to be worth over $20 billion. And now we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, Business 360 continues looking at further talking point around the world of business. Welcome back. It's still Business 360 and my name is Blacklisted. Still looking at businesses around Nigeria. Nigeria may finally be on its way to achieving self-sufficiency in petrol production, as fresh data has shown a sharp decline in the volume of premium motor spirit PMS imported in October 2024. This follows a boost in PMS production by Dangote Refinery, especially in the first 2 weeks of October. Nigeria aims to end petrol imports by December 2024 as part of measures to stabilize the economy. According to a ship tracking report from S&P Global Commodity Insights, 280,400 barrels of gasoline and blend stock were imported into Nigeria during the first week of October 2024, ending on the 6th. This was followed by another vessel, one product tanker with Antwerp as port of origin, carrying 290,567 barrels of gasoline to Nigeria in the week ending October 13th. The development confirms an earlier report by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC on the disruption of market forces once the Dangote refinery starts operation. Still in Nigeria. The Nigerian government, through the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, has reiterated that fuel and foreign exchange subsidy policies are gone. Edun stated this during the presentation of the Nigeria Development Update by the World Bank in Abuja on Thursday. Edun revealed that these subsidies had drained the country's economy, costing over 10 trillion naira, which amounts to 5% of Nigeria's gross domestic product (GDP). This comes as the minister announced a new government plan aimed at addressing unemployment with a focus on housing finance. Meanwhile, the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, speaking at the same event, condemned the policies put forward by the federal government. He emphasized that the policies are the cause of the hardship Nigerians across the country are facing. Meanwhile, the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, has said Nigeria is no longer blacklisted globally as its rating rose to 75.5%. Keyamo disclosed this at the commissioning of the Juhi 2 Aviation Fuel Depot on Thursday at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos. According to him, the new status of a country's aviation means that airlines can now access dry lease aircrafts. The minister assured that very soon there would be more aircraft in Nigeria, and Global Aviation Fuel may need to increase its capacity to cater to the influx of aircraft into the country. Meanwhile, the police in Delta State have given a stern warning to point-of-sale POS operators against engaging in transactions beyond 500,000 naira. The command spokesperson, SP Bright Adafe, said such transactions could potentially implicate operators in criminal activities, particularly kidnapping. Adafe in a statement highlighted a case where a POS operator received a ransom payment of 4 million naira from kidnappers, earning a mere 40,000 naira in profits. The police spokesperson stressed the importance of vigilance and adherence to federal regulations, which impose strict limits on transaction amounts to prevent misuse of criminals, or misuse by criminals in that regard. Meanwhile, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria has threatened to withdraw its services from the ports and jetties if the Council for the Regulation of Freight Forwarding fails to pay its members under their employments their 9-month salary arrears. The union also warned of an impending industrial crisis in the maritime sector if the issue is not resolved as soon as possible. The Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria disclosed this in a statement on Thursday by its Deputy Secretary General, Oniha Orazwa. Orazwa has said the union has made several efforts to resolve the matter amicably through various ultimatums and mandatory meetings, including the latest one held in Abuja on September 18, 2024. Still in Nigeria, the federal government has declared that electricity distribution companies must replace any meter phased out due to meter upgrade. It declared this through the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission and clarified that although there is no directive to phase out Unistar meters as claimed, the meters will soon be out of operations due to an upgrade in technology, and its users will not be able to vend. The Commission stated that any meter currently being replaced by discos must be substituted to ensure no disruption to customers' metering needs. As Nigeria struggles to close the 7 million metering gap, some discos have insisted that customers must get new meters before November 14 deadline. It would be a good time to look at the top 10 African countries with the largest government dates mid-2024. Large government dates, particularly in some African nations, could trigger a slew of economic challenges. These challenges often include currency depreciation and a loss of investor confidence, among other things. As a result, governments are tasked with the responsibility of easing its debt load, even though many fail to do so. Sub-Saharan Africa's external public and publicly guaranteed PPG debt has been on the upward trend within the last decade. Here are the top 10 African countries with the largest government dates mid-2024. The list is courtesy of Africa Pulse report by the World Bank. At number 1, Eritrea is ranked on the list. 210.6% of GDP, general government dates of the GDP of the country. Sudan at number 2, Zambia number 3 with 107.5%, and it goes on and on. Cape Verde, Mozambique, Congo, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Guinea in that regard. We'll go on another break, and when we're back, Business 360 continues, and we'll be talking about global economic standings and the markets. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Still Business 360, and my name is Blacklisted. The European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde announced that the ECB Governing Council decided to lower interest rates on Thursday, but said the central bank will not pre-commit to a particular rate path. Let's find out more on this.
ECB interest rates by 25 basis points. In particular, the decision to lower the deposit facility rate the rate through which we steer the monetary policy stance, is based on our updated state assessment of the inflation outlook, the dynamics of underlying inflation, and the strength of monetary policy transmission. The incoming information on inflation shows that the disinflationary process is well on track. The inflation outlook is also affected by recent downside surprises in indicators of economic activity. Meanwhile, financing conditions remain restrictive. Inflation is expected to rise in the coming months before declining to target in the course of next year. Domestic inflation remains high as wages are still rising at an elevated pace. At the same time, labour cost pressures are set to continue easing gradually, with profit partially buffering their impact on inflation.
Let's talk about the Chinese economy. The Chinese economy expanded 4.6% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2024, compared with forecasts of 4.5% and a 4.7% rise in the second quarter. It was the slowest growth since the first quarter of 2023 amid persistent property weakness, a shaky domestic demand, and trade friction with the West. In the first 3 quarters of the year, the economy grew by 4.8% compared with China's full-year GDP target of around 5%. In Japan, the annual inflation rate in Japan fell to 2.5% in September 2024 from 3% in the prior month, marking the lowest reading since April. Electricity prices increased the least in 3 months as the impact of energy subsidy removal in May waned, and the cost of gas rose much more slowly. Moreover, costs moderated for food, furniture and household utensils, transport and culture. Additionally, prices fell further for communication and education in Japan. On the other hand, inflation remained unchanged for housing 0.7%, healthcare 0.5%, while aging higher for clothes and miscellaneous. In Egypt holds interest rates at record high. The Central Bank of Egypt maintains its benchmark interest rate unchanged at 27.25% in October, in its October 2024 meeting, to mark 8th consecutive month of record high borrowing costs in the Egyptian monetary system. The move was widely expected by markets after an unexpected rebound in consumer inflation erased the room for the central bank to commence its loosening cycle. Inflation was last recorded at 26.4% in September, a second consecutive increase and the highest since June. Additionally, heightening geopolitical tensions among Egypt's northern neighbors, talking about Israel and Lebanon, also threatened to prolong the start of rate cuts by the central bank, as higher risk premium for energy threatened consuming and the consumers' purchasing power shortly after the government cut subsidies on electricity and utility bills. It would be a good time to look at the top 10 African countries with the lowest economic forecast mid-2024. Several African countries experienced economic difficulties last year as a result of internal and foreign socio-economic and political complications. However, it was projected that many African countries would see some degree of economic recovery in 2024. This economic forecast has been revised with a little decline recorded. This list is courtesy of the World Bank's latest Global Economic Prospect Report. Equatorial Guinea ranks number 1 on the list, with Sudan at number 2 with a decline in economic focus. Number 3, South Africa. Central African Republic, number 4, Malawi, number 5, and South Sudan, number 6, number 7, Lesotho, number 8, Sao Tome and Principe, and Chad, number 9. And now to the markets, as gold climbs above $2,700. Gold climbed past $2,700 per ounce today, reaching a new record high, driven by global demand for safe haven assets and expectations of further interest rate cuts from major central banks. Gold also found support from rising tensions in the Middle East following the Israeli military's confirmation on Thursday that Yahya Sinwar, a key Hamas leader and top target, was killed in combat, raising fears of regional escalation. Additionally, bullion prices increased as investors shifted away from the riskier assets due to underwhelming fiscal measures in China for the ongoing property crisis and uncertainties surrounding the U.S. presidential elections. And now let's move to the market. Let's begin with the energy market first, afterwards the metals and agricultural market. Energy market this morning. U.S. crude oil, popularly known as WTI crude, the price stands at $70 per barrel, upward by 0.258 points, a 0.36% appreciation. Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, a price level stands at $74 per barrel, upward by 0.2 points, a 0.27% appreciation. Now to the metals. Metal market indicates the price of gold at $2,711 per ounce, gaining 18 points this morning. A silver price at $32 per ounce, gaining 0.307 points. Copper price at $4.342 per pound, upward by 1.29% appreciation, and steel price gaining 13 points. And now to agricultural markets. The price of soybeans stands at $999 per bushel, upward by 1.01 point, a 0.1% gain. Wheat price at $590 per bushel, upward by 0.79 points. Lumber gaining 2.53 points, and palm oil price at 4,265 Malaysian ringgit per ton, falling by 12 points this morning. Now to the financial markets. Looking at FX update this morning. The top currency gainers this morning are Norwegian krone at 0.35%, while Swedish krona at 0.33% and Chinese yuan 0.29%, a British pound gaining 0.2% in that direction. And now let's talk about the markets. The euro against the US dollar market. A euro against the US dollar price level stands at 1.08 points mark. No significant change in this one. A pound against the US dollar at 1.304 points mark. And quickly, let's look at the US dollar against the naira. 1,637 naira equaling $1 at the international exchange window. The dollar gaining 2.8 points over the naira, and the euro at 1,775 naira to the euro gaining 5.4 points over the naira, and the pound gaining 8.8 points over the naira. And now to the parallel markets. Dollar to naira buying rate 1,702 naira and selling rate 1,690 naira. A pound to naira buying rate 2,252 naira and selling rate 2,217 naira. The euro to naira buying rate 1,854 naira and selling rate 1,880 naira. And now to cryptocurrency market. The price of Bitcoin clearly stands at $67,925. Bitcoin price $25, and Bitcoin price gaining 557 points this morning. Market is moving quite fast. Ether gaining 26 points. Binance also gaining 5.8 points. The crypto market seems a bit positive. And let's conclude with the African stock market. The African stock market gives different perspective, just as the European stocks also are doing the bit they can. But quickly this morning, the NSE all-share talking about the Nigerian stock market, a price level of 98,081 index points, is falling by 210 basis points. South African stocks are doing quite well this morning. EGX 30 and Egyptian stock market also falling by 401 basis points this morning. The story of the markets and the direction that comes in the world of business. And here we draw the curtain in today's edition of Business 360. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Vlad Wukim, and thank you for watching.